What do a Division I college athlete and the director of global emerging tech at Circle K have in common? More than you think, especially when the athlete is me and the corporate powerhouse is my mentor, Christine Loukota. In this episode, she and I dive into the real talk behind mentorship, the messy starts, the moments of growth, and how strong mentor mentee relationships can shape not just individuals, but entire team cultures. Whether you're looking for guidance or ready to give it, stick around. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the 4 Forecast. Hi again. Welcome back to the Era 4 Forecast. I have such a treat for you guys today. I am here with Christine Loukota. She is the Director of Emerging Tech at Circle K. She's an absolute gem of a woman. Also, one of my dear mentors. Christine, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Lindsay. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I'm so excited to have you on today. We have so much to talk about. I want to hear about your journey into getting the role that you're at right now. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, that's a long story, but I try and summarize it. So my career trajectory has been non-traditional, I guess you would say. And I started in college. I majored in journalism. I minored in business and psychology. I wasn't totally sure what I wanted to do. I loved writing, I loved talking, I loved working with people. And when I graduated, I felt like a really strong desire to help people. So I ended up joining Teach for America, and I actually taught in a low-income school for 3 years. And that was such a critical experience for me. I feel like a lot of my success that I've been able to have in tech and business, I've actually learned while leading a classroom. And that's something that's in Teach for America's sales pitch, but I can actually say, attest to it, that I lived it and I truly do believe it. And after my 3rd year of teaching, I had an opportunity to go work for an education tech startup selling family communication software into childcare centers. And as I was at the time teaching preschool, I felt like it was a great stepping stone into tech and really a way for me to call on all of my experience in the classroom to be able to apply it to a different role. So that was crazy. That was early stage startup. I think I was employee number 7 there. So we went through all the things in a short 1-year period. We were growing like crazy. We went from 8 people to 30 people. We moved offices. We expanded. We were pitching at Google Demo Days, pitching to Mark Zuckerberg for Education Fund. And then literally the eve of our Series A that it was supposed to close, our lead investor backed out. The whole thing was just crazy. So it was we tried to do a management buyout. We were about to sell to one company who actually just wanted to steal our customer base. But ultimately, that company ended up getting acquired. During that time, I had a few different opportunities available to me, probably the same safe, stable option of going into HR and payroll sales, which probably would have been a good bet. But I had a woman in my network who was launching her own startup, her own retail SaaS company. And she asked if I'd be her first employee. And clearly I'm up for I'm up for crazy. So I said, sure. And when I started, it was just the 2 founders, so the CEO and the CTO. And I was hired in a customer success role, but we didn't even have a product yet. So we were pitching literally a fake app that was did not even exist yet. So that experience was incredible because I really got to understand sales, customer success, account management, product development. I sat side by side in a little WeWork office with all of our dev team. So I really say everything I learned about tech, I learned during that time. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, it was obviously a really tough time for our small SaaS startup. We had just replatformed and did a pivot, and really our revenue and our sales just weren't where we needed it to be. And I was also pregnant with my second child and felt like the writing's on the wall here. It's probably time for me to try something else. And I had a opportunity, like all of my kind of opportunities after Teach for America, everything really came through my network. Like that's something about me. I'm a people person. I kind of trust people and call on people more so than just like shooting resumes and job applications out onto LinkedIn. Like I tend to take jobs where there's a personal connection. And someone in my network had this opportunity at Circle K. And I had said no maybe 2 times, was like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't know that I'm really interested in C-store or gas station. It was like, wait, but like, hear me out. They have this innovation team with this massive budget. Like right now during COVID, all these businesses are struggling, but convenience is actually like growing and like printing money, doing really well. Like this could be an awesome opportunity. So I signed a 3-month contract, and my plan was like, it went up to my due date with my daughter. And my plan was like, I'll do this, have my baby, I'll spend some time with my kids, and then I'll figure out what happens next. But like within a few weeks, they're like, hey, would you be interested in full time? Would you relocate to Phoenix? And my husband and I are like, sure, let's move across the country with a newborn and a toddler in the middle of a pandemic. So did that. And that was my first day at Circle K was August 10th of 2020. So we're going into my 5th year here. And my career has really exploded and grown during that time. So moving on from innovation, where I had an awesome opportunity to launch like different mobile apps, a lot of AI checkout experiences. We partnered with Standard AI, with Grubango. We tried out the whole Amazon Go type experience in the store, and then landed on our partnership with MassGen, which is our smart checkout solution that we've now scaled globally. And I was given a promotion through that experience to lead Circle K's first emerging tech team. And our kind of like what we were called on to do, our mission was to lead innovative technology at scale. But shortly after that happened, we lost our innovation budget. And so like the pipeline of innovation projects that we were expected to be handed over to my team to scale kind of died. So we pivoted and luckily had more than enough work cut out for us when it came to scaling out our smart checkout solution. But I also had the opportunity to lead the product development for our next generation retail platform, or sometimes we'll call it information superhighway. And that's our backend cloud services API that powers all of our digital experiences. So our smart checkout solution is powered by our NGRP, like POS in the cloud. So like a lot of synergies between two of those, but like different ways of working, right? Because it's like APIs and then customer facing point of sale technology. And then also had the opportunity to take into my portfolio Lyft, which is our digital advertising and upselling platform. And that was a real challenge for me because it was a legacy piece of software that we were being asked to really modernize. So to modernize the ways of working, to transition it more to like a product mindset, and to help reduce tech debt, to optimize our AWS spend. So really like a whole different set of challenges. And I loved building that team from the ground up, had like an awesome group of handpicked, hardworking, awesome people, really, really connected to those products. But this past November, Ed, who's our CTO, reached out to me and asked if I'd actually take on a senior leadership role on his team to lead all of global tech strategy. And so now I'm currently responsible for leading the entire global tech budget for across our entire portfolio. And so I went from having like a handful of niche products that I worked on to now being responsible for like the whole portfolio. So that's my probably way too long of an explanation, but that's kind of my career journey. So
I'm sorry. So let me like reintroduce you more accurately as the leader of Circle K's global tech strategy. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so that's actually incredible. So I have a couple questions
yeah,
after just all of that. So you said that when you started out, teaching prepared you the most for kind of what you were about to go through. How? What
yeah.
about teaching
So
prepared
first
you?
and foremost, I didn't major in education, right? So like Teach for America is non-education majors. So you do like a little bit of a boot camp a couple weeks before, but you really have to like think on your feet and learn how to manage a classroom. There's also like I was teaching preschoolers, right? There
Oh
are
wow.
some similarities across like preschoolers and developers or preschoolers and executives. Like there's a lot of being able to manage a classroom and manage
Gentle
behaviors. Like you
parenting.
can't you can walk in with the perfect plan. Like we were talking before this call about you had your perfect sales pitch and then you walked in and it was like, no, you actually have 10 minutes. You could have the perfect lesson plan. And if your students aren't following it, you got to think on your feet. And you're really kind of like an actor on stage, right? Like you are responsible for entertaining them, for educating them. You have to manage up, manage down, manage out. Like you're trying to manage your administration, making sure that your admin understands what you're teaching, why you're teaching it. You're showing them like your KPIs, right? Your success metrics. And then you also have to manage down and make sure that everything is at, in my case, the level of a preschooler. And like trying to teach like how to read or counting or letter sounds or phonics, like explaining that to a 3-year-old is so different, right? And you kind of have to shift your way of thinking. And then also the parent communication piece, right? So you have those additional stakeholders of making sure the parents are partnering with you and understand what you're doing in the classroom. So I think all of those skills were really important. And then like a bigger life skill for me, because I was in a low income community in the South Side of Chicago, just getting like a greater respect and understanding for different different demographics and ways of life, and understanding that like there are hardships and challenges faced in communities outside of our own that really just gave me a different perspective. And you have to alter your communication style too for those diverse audience. So like all of those skills, it was crazy, right? But I was like 22, so I could handle anything. And being able to take that and translate it in to like a startup setting or a corporate setting is it's skills I call upon without like subconsciously, without even thinking about it.
Which that's actually really funny because it reminds me a lot of the skills that I learned from playing softball in college, like having to manage a team, learning how to reach people and get people on your page so that, all of like, it's not enough for 5 people to be on the same page. Like it's got to be everybody. And you have to learn how to talk to people to get them to want to be on your page. And it's people from so many different backgrounds and so many different walks of life that you're having to reach all of them. And you have to have almost, in my case, it was 22. There was 22 girls on my team. And that's 22 different ways that you have to learn how to talk to somebody and conflict resolve and, switch gears last minute when, things don't go how you thought they were going to go. And you don't have time to say, oh, poor pitiful me. Like you just got to figure it out. Like there is no time to just wallow in self-pity, especially when you're like in the game and you get thrown in for a pinch at bat and there's 2 outs and it's the bottom of the 7th inning and the winning run is at third base. Like you don't have time to think, oh my gosh, what the freak? Like you have no, we don't have time for that. Like you just have to go up and trust yourself and do it. Like, so yeah, no, I think that's something that's really cool is like being able to draw from like life experiences and use it to towards different things and almost like repurpose those.
I think that's something. So like when I talk about my career a lot, I always say like there's a couple of like constants, right? Like I've never been qualified for any job I've ever had, like never been qualified. And most of the jobs that I've had, I've been the first person to do that job. Like I've not actually had a defined job description, and I've like been successful in all of my roles. And I think that that's something, in recruiting, I found that you'll try to find like, oh, someone who has all of this skill set, someone who's checked all of these boxes. And sometimes that's actually not the best fit for the role. So I've had like candidates in the past where there's someone who has all of the right experience, checks all of the boxes, but there's someone else who has like been in this crazy startup and worn all of these different hats. And you see when you're speaking to them that they have like this grit and this desire and this willingness to learn and this growth mindset. And there's some things that I feel like you just can't necessarily teach. And for me, like it's been fun. It's been exciting. Like I didn't start at the bottom of a corporation and grow like not the traditional career path, but I think I would be bored if I did do it that way. And
you would have never met me.
Yeah, totally.
So speaking of meeting me, obviously the best day of your life, we actually were introduced as mentor and mentee. What can you say about like your experience being a mentor, being mentored by someone? Like, what would make you even want to do that? Or what is the value of that like relationship to you?
And I think there's a strong correlation to like my career trajectory too, right? Like I can go all the way back to my decision to apply for Teach for America, all the way back to a high school teacher that I had who did Teach for America, who had like inspired me and mentored me to do that. And like through TFA, I had very strong mentors. And while teaching, I started mentoring a student. This is actually a really cool story. So she was in 8th grade, my first year of teaching, and she started helping me in my classroom. And so we kind of developed this mentorship relationship. So now, however many years later, still my mentee, close friend, consider her family, she's now teaching. So she is now a teacher, and like and she's mentoring students at her school. So I just think there's so much power in that. And like that extends through my experiences in startups, right? Like my most recent startup prior to Circle K, I was very closely mentored by our founders, by our CEO and our CTO. And I learned a ton about business that really helped set me up for my success when I went to a corporation and went into Circle K. Like I had been working at an executive level at a smaller company and was able to bring that and translate it. And then since coming here, I have had multiple people that I've mentored inside of our organization and then outside. And I feel like with us meeting, it was like an awesome, you get asked to do different mentorship opportunities and you never know if it's going to be a good fit, right?
Because so is that like a common thing? People just approach you and say like, hey, do you want to mentor somebody? Is that like a thing?
So I would say, so like I've done a couple formal mentorship programs, right? Like where I have like formally been a mentor or a mentee, where it's like some sort of formal, like the one that I did where I was being mentored, it's like a partnership that we have through like a CIO program where it's like all retired CIOs that mentor like up and coming tech leaders. But the most of the mentoring and like both ways that I've been participating, most of it's been informal, right? Like there's a woman who I recruited and hired on a few years ago who I've really like taken upon myself to help mentor through her journey. I have like my internal mentors that are leaders that I look up to in the organization. But in terms of like the formal mentoring, there's been a couple people that I've just been asked by like colleagues, like, hey, this person's trying to get into product management, or this person interested in, growing outside of their current bubble. Would you mind doing some mentorship with them? But I think you are the first person that I've been asked to mentor within like a formal program. And honestly, like I didn't totally know what to expect because like if it's not a good if it's not a good match, it could be totally awkward, right?
Right.
But I trusted it because Letty, who set us up, like knows me quite well. And so right when we met and started talking, I was like, oh my gosh, this woman's awesome. Like, I can't wait to get to know her more and like want to hang out with her, want to see her succeed, all of the things. And I think for me personally, like I've had mentors who really follow like a structured formal framework. And then I've had mentors I just go to like, hey, I really need help with this. And like the less formal approach works better for me. And I loved that like that was your style too. And we just clicked and could have like natural conversation. And I think the best part about like our mentorship relationship is that we were always able to like talk about what was front and center for like that point in your life and what was going on with you. And like sometimes it was more softball, right? Like that's what your head was like, that's where your head was at that point in time. Then it was like your current internship. Then it was trying to figure out what to do. So like being able to meet the person that you're mentoring where they're at, I think is really important because that's like, I don't know, that's my perspective. So I'd love to hear
Yeah.
from your side.
Yeah, no, from my side, I was definitely like skeptical at first because you get almost like you get so much thrown at you when you're in school and you're trying to
Right.
play a sport and you're especially doing like a STEM degree like engineering and doing a sport at the same time. It's like, and I was, approaching my senior year. So it's like things were getting very real for me at that time. So it's like, I was like, "Ugh, okay, great. Is another thing that I have to remember to do now, another meeting that I have to remember to get on, another person that I have to remember to text back. Awesome. So, it was definitely one of those things that was like, it's so easy to feel overloaded in college. And I'm so glad that I really came into it open minded um, and looking forward to it because we had an in-person event and that's where we started really networking and talking about things. And I think that really kind of like changed things for me because seeing people show up in person and take time out of their day to like organize this little event and show up and tell us a little bit about themselves and just be there um showed us that like they were really putting an effort for this and they really wanted this to work. So that definitely made me a lot more receptive to the idea because I've never really had like a mentor before. Like you know, I've had people that I can say have influenced me a lot, but I don't know if I would necessarily consider them mentors. So it was definitely like a weird, almost like a hit to my pride. I was like, I don't need a mentor. I've got it figured out. I know what I'm doing. Obviously, you're 22. You know everything. So it was something that it took a bit of adjusting to, but seeing the physical effort of people showing up and doing that, even though like you weren't even at that event, it still was like, okay, so they're taking this seriously. I should do. So
And I
then,
like something, like formal or informal, like mentorship, like the people connection that like I've drawn upon. Like I said, like all of my jobs that I've had have been through personal connections. My promotions I've gotten have been because of my work and what I've delivered, but like largely because of like the human connection that I've had. So like building that personal network and having people that you trust for your career, for your personal life, like as you move on and you go to hire people or get hired, like that network is so important and is so critical.
yeah, and I really couldn't agree more with you on that. And I think that that's something that I've come to realize, especially in the past year since, having met you and having, been put in, more of a leadership role on my softball team that I was on. Like I'd never been in any sort of like role where I was impacting other people and like making decisions and trying to accommodate like a large group of people and manage a large group of people. So that was all very out of my comfort zone, but I very quickly started picking up on like you got to get people on your page, like you got to get on other people's pages, like you have to be able to have that empathy that it takes to connect with somebody on a personal level before you could ask them to do anything for you. Like you have to make that relationship and foster that first, and then you can start kind of exploring certain opportunities that maybe they can help you with or things of that nature. Like, I mean, I know even in the place that I'm working at right now, Terror Grit, the majority of our client base is all people that Sam, our CEO, met when he was doing his first startup. And then, he sells that one for $480 million. And suddenly everybody's chomping at the bit to get on board with this one. So that's kind of the principle of like building these relationships, fostering these relationships, and really taking care of your people. And then like they'll naturally just want to take care of you.
Yeah.
So
And it's always like good too to like have people to call and like you go through things and like, it's good to have people within your organization. It's also good to have people outside of your organization where you're like, wait, like sanity check. Like, is this crazy? Is this normal? You're like, okay, this is my first startup. And it's like, no, this is normal. This is how we do things scrappy. You're like, okay, this is my first time at a corporation. Like, budget season's terrible. Is it always like this? Like, do we have to fight with finance every year? Like, yes, you totally have to fight with finance every year. It's part of the course.
par for the course. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I haven't even gotten to that point yet.
But it's good. And I think like, it's also like for me so rewarding. So like on my team that I was managing previously, I think 3 of my direct reports were promoted within a 1-year time period. And like that means so much to me. Like I was so proud of that. It's like, seeing your kid accomplish something, like more proud of like winning any awards or like accolades I get for myself, like having coached and developed and helped them grow and like seeing you get this internship and like what you're going to do. Like, it's so rewarding.
That's actually so funny because I feel the same way so we have this past year, we had a really young coaching or pitching staff. All of our pitchers were either freshmen or hadn't gotten to play last year. So it was a very nerve-wracking thing because, the pitchers, there's really not a whole lot of way to help them out. Like once they start struggling, it's like, it's a lot of pressure. It is so much pressure to be the only one in that circle, like, and it's all on you in that moment. So we came in and we had this one freshman and she was what we call a bird buddy. We were the road runners. That was our mascot. So we were the birds and she was my little bird buddy for the year, the fall and then the summer before that.
A mentorship relationship. Like,
yes. And that was a little like a formal one actually, because my coach set me up with her. I didn't know her from Adam before this. So yeah, I guess, yes, I was mentoring her. And then, we get into season and everything just hits the fan and we're all like, the pitchers suddenly, like, I don't think we had one with an ERA under like 10 for a little while, which is not good. That is really, really awful, actually. So it was safe to say our pitchers were struggling a lot, especially the one that I had been mentoring. So I felt very personally responsible for that. And, that things had happened and I ended up having to pull her for a chat. Love Island reference. But I did have to pull her and talk to her a little bit and kind of like get in her head and say like, what's going on, dude? Like, this is not how I've raised you to be. Like, had to go a little bit mom mode on her. Like, am I not doing enough for you? Like, I don't understand. And then I think she received that so well. I think she led the team in strikeouts. She led the team in everything, like every category that matters for a pitcher. She led the team in for the rest of the year. And I actually 2 days ago got a text from her on her birthday, texting me, telling me how like grateful she was that I had that tough conversation with her, and I was like, that like was that full circle moment for me. Because, you know, in the back of my head, I'm like, did that even make a difference? Like, did she just figure it out on her own? Like, how did did that even have anything to do with me? Probably not. And then she texts me and is like, yeah, no, like that was a big deal for me, and you really helped me through that. So that whole like feeling of like pride in somebody else, like that is that genuine like feeling that I want. Now I want her to have it with the next one that comes in that struggles, that needs help, that she now is equipped to pass that information along to. So like I think that's just such a great way to encapsulate like what the relationship and like continuing that cycle of like growth, you know? Like how do they say it? Uh
Rising tides lift all ships.
Yes, rising tides lift all the ships. So it's like if we can all work together to raise the tide, then we can lift everybody up. And I really do think that mentorship and having that, building that connection and working really hard to build that connection, because it's really
something that like as you get like further in your career too, like the higher you get up in leadership, like it gets a little lonely too. Like it starts to get like a little bit lonely. And I see that a little with myself, like a lot with like our CTO, and like he and I, like our relationship is so close. And like he is my mentor, but he's like, hey, Christine, I depend on you to like keep me in check with like the reality. Like, what's the situation? People aren't telling me because I'm the boss. So like I'm not getting
gotta
the
be
whole
the temper.
so like that, like being able the reciprocal to go like up and down is so important. Like, you know, there are people who wouldn't feel comfortable having the level of transparency with him that I do, that they'd be like, I'm not telling him that. And I'm just real. I'm like, yeah, it's terrible right now. Like, you should call a huddle. We should all talk. Like, vibes are bad. Check on your people. So it's like something that's really important.
Yeah, which is so crazy that you say that, because that's exactly how I felt this past year being a senior, trying to help temperature gauge for our head coach. Because, you know, like you just said, people aren't going to tell her everything. Like people aren't going to tell her certain stuff, and she can't know how to help fix stuff if nobody says anything to her and we're all just hiding things from her. So yeah, like it is tough, because then you get in this weird like go between like, what should I tell her everything? Are there some things that I should maybe not? Like I don't want to look like I don't want to look like I'm betraying my friends by telling her certain things, but also like there needs to be a discretion about like, no, this is out of hand. Like she needs to know about this stuff. So if you could like imagine like what that's like what in your head is like your discretion for like, what do I bring to this person's attention, and what am I just going to keep?
It's always like constructive, right? Like you're always going to have conversations where you're right. And I think like it sometimes is good to be like, I'm just complaining. Like, I don't need you to do anything about this. Like I'm talking to you as a friend, right? Not a boss or not a mentor or whatever. But then being like, hey, I'm sharing this because I think something needs to be done. I'm sharing this because I think it's important for you to know because it's impacting team morale. I'm sharing this because I have a feeling it's going to get to you, and I want to get in front of it before it explodes. So I think like common sense, I don't know. I mean, the number of times that I like in a working day, I'm like, I wish people would just use their common sense, or like, let's just use common sense here. But I think that's,
Yeah.
I feel like basic communication and common sense skills go very far.
Now, what did we have? We had one period of time where our coach had to be like, listen, I don't have the bandwidth to tell you the answers to every single question that you have. I need you to try to figure it out first. Then I need you to take it to the one of the seniors on the team. Then if they don't know, then you need to take it to an assistant coach. Then if they don't know, then you need to take it to the other assistant coach. And if none of those people know, then you need to pray. And then you can come ask me. Yeah. So a little bit of we called it FIO, like figure it out moment, where that really pushed us but it also pushed us to be more independent, as athletes, that we're not constantly looking around to somebody else for direction, that we're able to make those decisions for ourselves and contribute.
Yeah, I think like a good practice, and it's not always easy, right? To be like solution oriented and to come with solutions, not problems. And sometimes like I have felt recently in this phase of my career right now that I have been bringing forth a lot of problems and I don't have all of the solutions to them, but trying to be like, hey, I'm working through this. Like, this is a challenge. I have some ideas. I'm not there yet. Give me some time. I'm not asking you to fix it for me, but I want you to be aware of the problem. I think I may have some ideas for how to fix, or like, hey, I'm working through, like, I maybe want to test this, or I potentially want to bring in a contractor to help me with this. Like, just kind of go back and forth and come up with some ideas. But it's hard in a leadership role when you're just being given problems all day, and like having managed several different types of people and big teams, small teams. I always appreciate someone who's like, hey, so we just introduced this bug into prod. However, we're doing this rollback and we're doing this. Here's our plan, as opposed to like, we just have this huge problem, or this isn't working. That's not working. Like, coming solution oriented makes such a big difference.
And I think it really it helps you really to continue moving forward. I think when you present just a problem and then it's like, this is a problem, and then it's like, okay, well, now what? Like, what do we need to stop? Do we need to do this? And a lot of times the person that's in that leadership role doesn't have all of the information that the person who discovered the problem does. So then it's like, they're not even fully equipped to give a definitive answer. So I think it is always helpful for somebody, further down the line to try to at least attempt to nip things in the bud or come up with potential solutions and then ask for approval on ways to fix them, instead of just kind of vaguely identifying this problem and then having nowhere to go with it.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, well, I don't think I have anything else, honestly, Christine. I think it's always such a pleasure talking to you. I'm sure we'll talk again soon, but I'm glad we got to get one on the record.
Thanks, Lindsay. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And this is another episode of the 404 Cast. We'll be out with a new one soon. In the meantime, try not to get lost, but if you do, you know where to find us. 404 signing out.